The seismic shift in the UFC welterweight division, caused by Islam Makhachev's dominant capture of the title, has sparked a frantic reshuffling of the contender queue. And at the center of the most intriguing what-if scenario sits the undefeated and ominously quiet Shavkat Rakmanov. While names like Kamaru Usman and Michael Morales are being thrown into the immediate title conversation, UFC analyst and Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier has pinpointed Rakmanov as the potential ultimate test for the new champion, a matchup so compelling and dangerous that it stands apart from all others. It has been nearly a year since Rakmanov last graced the octagon, a submission victory over Ian Mikado Gary that extended his perfect professional record and reinforced his reputation as a finishing machine. While some argue his inactivity has allowed others to leapfrog him, Cormier's analysis suggests that the Nomad's unique blend of attributes creates a stylistic nightmare that transcends the typical contender rankings. On his Good Guy, Bad Guy show, Cormier couldn't hide his fascination with the potential clash, stating, "Shavkat Rakmanov is the guy that I think about and I go, man, that is a crazy fight to think about. Islam versus Rakmanov." Cormier then broke down exactly why this fight is so compelling, highlighting the three key weapons in Rakmanov's arsenal that could challenge Makhachev in ways Jack Della Maddalena could not. The size of Rakmanov, the wrestling ability of Rakmanov, and the striking of Rakmanov, boy, that is a good one, Cormier elaborated. This trifecta is critical. Rakmanov is a natural large welterweight with the physical strength to potentially negate Makhachev's grappling pressure. Furthermore, his own elite grappling pedigree means he would not be a fish out of water on the canvas. He would be a legitimate threat, turning the fight into a high-level grappling chess match rather than a one-sided mauling. Cormier, who had believed Della Maddalena would present Makhachev with his toughest challenge, acknowledged that the new champion clearly proved that wasn't the case. This only elevates the stature of a potential Rakmanov fight in his eyes. He concluded with a definitive prediction, one that carries significant weight given his own championship experience. I think, though, if he was to fight Shavkat, that would easily be the hardest fight of his career. This isn't just another title defense in Cormier's view, it is the pinnacle challenge, a fight against a larger, equally skilled, and equally dangerous version of himself that would truly define the limits of Makhachev's welterweight reign. Having shared the octagon with Islam Makhachev and engaged in one of the most grueling battles of the champion's career, Arman Tsaruykan possesses a uniquely qualified perspective on the new welterweight king's capabilities. After watching Makhachev's systematic dismantling of Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322, Tsaruykan was left with a stark and definitive conclusion. He simply cannot see a current contender at 170 pounds who poses a legitimate threat to Makhachev's reign. In an interview with MMAfighting.com, Tsarukyan expressed his awe at the ease of Makhachev's victory, a performance that transcended his already lofty expectations. Quote, "A very good performance," Tsarukyan stated. "I was shocked how we beat Della Maddalena so easy. It says what Islam level is at right now, you know? He's doing different level right now. He's in his prime." This observation carries significant weight, coming from a fighter who pushed Makhachev to his limits in a memorable three-round war back in 2019. That experience allows Tsarukyan to gauge Makhachev's evolution, and what he sees now is a fighter operating on a completely separate plane. His final analysis was a daunting prognosis for the entire welterweight division. Quote, "And I don't know who can stop him right now, 170 even." This insight comes as Tsarukyan himself stands on the precipice of a potential title shot, albeit in the lightweight division. His own path forward runs through the main event of UFC Qatar, where he is set to face the dangerous veteran Dan Hooker. The bout is a pivotal one, with a win likely securing Tsarukyan a long-awaited rematch with Makhachev for the 155-pound strap. The memory of their first encounter is clearly a driving force, but so is the lesson learned from a recent setback. Tsarukyan was infamously pulled from a scheduled title fight against Makhachev just hours before weigh-ins this past January due to an injury, a moment that forced a critical self-assessment. He revealed that the experience taught him a vital lesson in career longevity. Quote, "Don't overtrain," Tsarukyan said bluntly. "That's the most important thing that I learned about the pullout. That's why I hurt myself always."
He detailed a conscious shift in his training regimen, focusing more on recovery and less on relentless high-impact sessions. He said, quote, "That's why I try to do a lot of hiking when I want to train, or do something different like walk or do bike, and don't do a lot of wrestling that I used to, trying to save my energy." For Tsarukyan, the mission is clear. Get past Dan Hooker and Qatar, stay healthy, and earn another shot at the man he believes is currently an unstoppable force across 2 weight classes. His assessment of Makhachev's welterweight dominance isn't just analysis, it's the motivation for his own disciplined approach, as he aims to position himself as the one fighter who might have the blueprint to finally provide a solution to the puzzle that is Islam Makhachev.
In a continued and unexpected late-career pivot, former UFC interim lightweight champion Tony Ferguson is set to return to the boxing ring, aiming to build on the momentum from his first combat sports victory in over 7 years. Fresh off a TKO finish of social media star Salt Papi this past August, Ferguson will headline Misfits Boxing, the fight before Christmas, on December 20th in Dubai, where he will put his Misfits Boxing interim middleweight title on the line against Warren Spencer. This upcoming bout represents more than just another crossover boxing match for Ferguson. It is another step in what he describes as a crucial journey to rediscover his identity as a competitor. Following his win over Salt Papi, a visibly emotional Ferguson opened up about the profound weight that had been lifted from his shoulders. He revealed that the victory was about far more than just snapping a long losing streak. It was about recapturing a feeling that had been absent from his life for years. "I had no tears. It was nothing but joy and just enjoying the moment for a split second, because you're talking about years of not being happy. Not because of the loss, just because of not being happy. This is something that I always wanted to do. Throw on some boxing gloves and just throw some leather. Tonight was the perfect example of that, and get rid of the nerves and get that first victory out of the way." He elaborated that this single win was the key to resetting his mindset and unlocking the confident, dangerous fighter that had been lost for so long. "I needed one victory to get me back into where I need to be, which is killer mode, and to bring that confidence so I'm able to understand who the fuck I am," Ferguson stated. He pointed to the pandemic as a period where things spiraled for him, but now, with the pressure released, he feels ready to move forward. "I have no pressure on me now. I left it all inside that ring. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board, listen to my coaches, and figure shit out." His opponent, Warren Spencer, also holds a 1-0 record in professional boxing. However, Spencer's foray into combat sports has been a mixed bag. On the very same card where Ferguson won his interim title, Spencer competed in an MMA bout under the Misfits banner against Dylan Dennis and was submitted in a mere 15 seconds. This sets up a fascinating clash between two men looking to solidify their standing in the nascent world of influencer boxing, with Ferguson hoping to prove his August victory was no fluke and that he has truly rediscovered the ferocious killer mode that once made him one of the most feared men in the UFC. The very public and deeply acrimonious feud between Dana White and Francis Ngannou has escalated into a full-blown character war, with a former UFC employee now emerging to support the promoter's shocking allegations and paint a picture of the former heavyweight champion as an intimidating and bullying presence within the company's offices. The latest chapter began when White, appearing on a podcast, leveled the stunning claim that Ngannou once physically confronted him over a bonus dispute. White alleged that after a heated argument in his office about not receiving a $50,000 Fight of the Night bonus, Ngannou grabs me by my shirt and pushes me back in my office. He further stated that UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell had a similar experience, with Ngannou allegedly grabbing him by the collar to prevent him from walking away. White's conclusion was damning. This guy's not a good fucking guy. He's a bad guy. Now, adding a new layer of corroboration to the narrative of Ngannou's difficult behavior, a former UFC employee has come forward with his own account. Anthony Evans, reacting to the clip of White's interview on social media, wrote, "Francis was a terror at the UFC office when I worked there.
He described a pattern of intimidating conduct, alleging that Ngannou would show up over and over, walk around the offices, standing over people's desks, and making staff very uncomfortable. Evans attempted to provide some context, acknowledging that some of it was that he is a huge man from a different culture speaking English as a third language. However, he drew a clear distinction, stating, "And there's also bullying. He struck me as a bully." When pressed for a specific example, Evans recalled an incident where Ngannou was standing over one of the women who designed UFC key art and wanting changes. He was careful to clarify that this did not involve physical contact, but emphasized the psychological impact, writing, "He's a big scary dude and he had no business standing over people's desks, telling them what he wanted." Evans summarized his experience by contrasting Ngannou's behavior with that of other fighters, noting, "Almost all fighters are their worst selves fight week. The pressure, the weight cut, etc. Ngannou was unreal obnoxious to people just doing their jobs." These new allegations, while from a single source and unverified, significantly intensified the smear campaign against Ngannou's character. They moved the conversation beyond the contractual disputes that led to his departure and into the realm of personal conduct, constructing an image of a man who used his intimidating physique to bully staff members. For Ngannou, who has built his public persona on a narrative of humble origins and quiet dignity, these direct and damaging allegations from White and a former insider represent the most direct and damaging assault on his reputation to date, transforming his story from one of a principled fighter seeking freedom into a much more complicated and sinister tale.
The sheer physical dominance Islam Makhachev exhibited in his welterweight debut at UFC 322 now has a number to go along with the visual evidence, and it's a staggering one. Recently released backstage footage has revealed that on the night he systematically dismantled Jack Della Maddalena to become a two-division champion, Makhachev stepped onto the scale weighing a robust 189.4 pounds. This figure, captured in an Anatomy of a Fighter series clip, provides a stunning data point that contextualizes his one-sided victory. It means that after making the grueling cut down to the 170-pound limit at the official weigh-ins, Makhachev successfully rehydrated and replenished his body, entering the octagon a staggering 19.4 pounds heavier than the championship requirement. This walk-around weight is not just that of a large welterweight. It firmly places him in the territory of a natural middleweight, showcasing a phenomenal ability to manage his weight and a significant physical advantage over his opponents. The visual evidence in the cage corroborated this data. While the official weigh-ins showed Makhachev, 170 pounds, and Della Maddalena, 169.8 pounds, separated by mere ounces, the fight told a completely different story. Makhachev did not appear to be the smaller man. In fact, he seemed to possess equivalent, if not superior, physical strength. His legendary wrestling, honed against lightweights, translated with devastating effect against the larger welterweight champion. He outmuscled Della Maddalena in the clinch, effortlessly controlled him on the ground, and completely neutralized any offensive threat for the full 25 minutes. This revelation of his fight night mass fundamentally changes the perception of his move to 170 pounds. It was not a case of a skilled but smaller lightweight daring to move up. It was a fighter with a middleweight's body, possessing the technical mastery of a pound-for-pound king, simply bringing his talents to a new division. The 189.4-pound figure underscores that Makhachev's dominance was as much a product of his meticulous physical preparation and size advantage as it was of his otherworldly skill, presenting a terrifying physical puzzle for any future welterweight contender hoping to dethrone him. The simmering rivalry between Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria, a feud years in the making, has now reached a boiling point of professional frustration for the baddie.
With the lightweight title freshly around Topuria's waist, Pimblett finds himself in the agonizing position of being a top-5 contender with a ready-made, story-rich championship opportunity dangling just in front of him, yet the official confirmation remains stubbornly out of reach. This delay has left the outspoken Brit increasingly irked as he watches the UFC's new Paramount era approach without a clear picture of his place in it. The logic, from Pimblett's perspective, is undeniable. "Me and Topuria's got the storyline built, it's all there," he argued in an interview with JN Media, his exasperation palpable. He even acknowledged the silver lining in Topuria's victory over Charles Oliveira, noting, "It's better for me that he won it, because if Charles had won, I would have definitely had to fight someone else first." In Pimblett's view, the stars have aligned perfectly. He is riding the momentum of his own devastating knockout victory over Michael Chandler, and he is now linked to a champion with whom he shares a deep, personal, and physically manifested history. The entire promotional package is pre-assembled, requiring only a date and a venue. "I don't know why it's not already announced and made and written in a contract," he lamented. "We'll see what happens in the next few weeks." This isn't a rivalry born of simple competitive tension, it's a grudge with roots that dig deep into national pride and personal insult. The animosity first ignited online years ago when Pimblett, during a spat with another Georgian fighter, made a deeply offensive comment, writing, "Lad, how stupid are these Georgians, man? No wonder the Russians terrorize their lives." This provoked Topuria, who fiercely identifies with his Georgian heritage despite living in Spain, and led to their first physical confrontation at a UFC London hotel, where Pimblett famously hurled a bottle of hand sanitizer at his rival. Since then, their animosity has been a constant, punctuated by intense face-offs, most notably a viral standoff in Las Vegas after Topuria captured the title. Despite this seemingly perfect storm of narrative and ranking, an obstacle remains. UFC CEO Dana White was notably unenthusiastic about their post-UFC 317 face-off, bluntly stating it wasn't the fight. This, coupled with the legitimate claims of a former champion and perennial contender like Justin Gaethje, has created a logjam of uncertainty. For Paddy Pimblett, the wait is more than just a scheduling delay. It is a test of patience for a fighter who believes he is holding the winning ticket to the biggest fight of his life, a clash steeped in real animosity that he is desperately hoping the promotion will finally cash.